We have breaking North Melbourne news. I did not think that episode 2 of Further North would be an emergency podcast. This is insane, but Luke McDonald has stepped down as the captain or the co-captain of North Melbourne, which is not something I thought would happen. Obviously, there was a bit of fanfare about it all, and I did not think that, this is what would be going down right now or this early in the season or the preseason. But hey, here we are. Before we get into all of the details, if you haven't listened to the Best 23 episode that we dropped a few days ago, please do. We had a very exciting announcement in that, which I'll talk about in a second. But the Best 23 episode was it's my favorite to do every single year. I love the hypothetical and I love seeing where people go. So please, if you haven't listened to that, it's on YouTube, Spotify, Apple. Give it a share, give it a follow, give it a like, all that sort of stuff. Thank you for your support on that. And the live show is back. Tickets will be on sale on Thursday at 9 a.m. So only 2 days away. They'll be out. I'd love to see you all there. I can't believe we can do this for a second year in a row. So Eddie Ford is going to be there. Close to a Flag Boys will be there. Marnie will be there, of course. It's at Mr. West in Footscray for a 1 p.m. Doors are at 1 p.m., and we're going to kick it off about 2 o'clock. But come down, have a drink with us, say hello, and yeah, it's going to be a fantastic time. So tickets on sale for that on Thursday at 9 o'clock in the morning. I'll be sharing the link. Stay glued to the socials and that sort of stuff. Okay. Formalities out of the way. Luke McDonald has stepped down as captain. Interesting way that it was announced. Initially, they just put up the leadership group of Simpkin as sole captain, which is something that we've all been thinking about. I was definitely pro that, and I think all the fans really wanted one captain. I think it represents the club a little bit more. A few teams have co-captains, Brisbane as an example, and there's a few other teams in there that went the co-captain route, but I think one man leading the football club is the way to go. And I love that it's Jai Simpkin. I know we've been talking about Harry Sheasel and Nick Larkey, which coincidentally are the two vice captains now. But Simpkin, I think, has been really good at leading us through this awful time in the club's history, to be 100% honest. And yes, his form has been up and down, but he loves the place. He signed a big contract. He obviously took over from Zeeble for a reason, so I think he's the right man for the job. For now, Harry Sheasel has future captain written all over him, but I don't want to burden the young fella with that just yet. I think that's a little bit unfair, but look, Jai Simpkin, our sole captain, completely okay with that. Love the move. Vice captains, Nick Larkey, love it. Harry Sheasel, love it. Luke McDonald was not in there. And then later, they sort of put a video of Luke McDonald up explaining his decision and why he feels like that's probably the best thing for him to do. And I completely understand. I mean, look, his last couple of years haven't been good enough. I've been a Luke McDonald supporter, as you guys all know, not without criticism towards him. I think I judge him fairly enough from his performance, but you guys can agree or disagree with that. That's okay. But I think stepping back to focus on footy, you talked about having a child come into the world and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, I think the load was maybe a little bit too much. We can never question his commitment to the club, bleeds blue and white, and you need guys around like that. And I think keeping the respect up towards Luke McDonald because of that is a must for fans. But maybe not having the burdency of a captain on his shoulders can potentially get him back to his best form. I don't really understand why that would be, but we've seen in the past potentially the captaincy can be a bit of a burden on the shoulders of some players, and stepping back can be the best thing for their career. So hopefully he can get back to some of his best form. I don't think his year last year was quite as bad as people said, but he wasn't good enough. That's a definite. The year before was pretty shocking, but look, our team's won 6 games in 2 years. So look, I think he's a victim of the system, plus also maybe not being quite good enough. But I fully believe he can have a bit of a bounce back year, and I really hope that he can really, prove a few people wrong, I guess. I'll back him, but hey, I will feel like I call it how it is, even though I think some of you guys might not agree with that. But hey, so no Luke McDonald in the leadership group. Hopefully it's good for him. Hopefully he steps up and can play some of his better footy again. He's only, 29 years old, 29, maybe 30 most. So he's still got some footy left in him, and we need leaders in this team with the talented young guys we've got. So Jai Simpkin, captain. Let's talk about the vice captains. Harry Sheasel, goes without saying, there's not really much to add to why he is vice captain. He is a future captain of the club, just young, but to already be vice captain at 20 years old just shows the stature that this kid is as a player on the field and off the field. It's only a matter of time before he leads this club. Who knows when it will be? Hopefully not too quickly, because I like Simpkin as captain, and I, once again, don't want to put a burden on Harry Sheasel when he's just going up and up and up levels every single year. But the fact that he's vice captain speaks absolute volumes of him. So I don't think anyone can have any complaints about that. I think most North Melbourne fans also agree that he's probably not the guy to be captain right now. Maybe when we're pushing finals or even in the finals, he can take over when he's 24, 25 years old. But I think a captain who's any younger than that, probably a little bit too young. 23, 22 years old, you have to be a very, very special player. And he is, but, you know, I want proper leaders leading this club, and he will be that one day. He'll be one of the best captains I think North Melbourne's ever had. There's a massive call for you. But love that he's in the group. Larky, let's talk about him. I've been hot on Larky as captain for a while. Marnie always talks very, very highly about how he speaks at the Sid Barker Medal. Him signing his big contract to stay with North, even though we won, you know, only a small handful of games, shows his commitment to the club. When you go to the games, you can see him leading, he's yelling, he's vocal. All the word coming out of training is he's incredibly vocal, and that's sort of stepped up, and maybe someone like a Parker has helped him with that, or a Darling. You know, maybe seeing people who have been in leadership groups like that at successful clubs can help him do that sort of stuff. So, look, I love the three captain and two vice captains. I think it's perfect. I don't think there's any other real choices to be in those roles. But we will talk about who I believe will round out the leadership group in a second. We can talk about who I think will, and we can talk about who I think should. And then I want your comments down below on YouTube if you are watching. Please subscribe on YouTube if you are watching on YouTube. But please get your comments down below and tell me your leadership group. Tell me your entire leadership group, because I'm really interested to see, say, the next three. Last year we had 6 people in the leadership group, and I think we'll go with that sort of model again. So I'm just going to assume we will. I want to know who the next 3 people you guys are going to pick, because getting Caleb Daniel, Jack Darling and Luke Parker really puts a bit of a spanner in some of the other guys who are in the leadership group. So we'll go to that in a second. But yeah, love the 3 that we have chosen to lead this club, and it does feel like we are really looking towards the future with these guys. I think it's perfect. Simpkin really set the tone. We've talked about this a lot, but that West Coast game over in the West for our first win last year, he set the tone, first bounce, clattered into someone, won the footy, and I feel like it really, really sent a message to the whole team, like, we're on today and we're winning this game. We cannot sit and lose more games. And if he can have a bounce back here, he's Sid Barker medal quality, we know that. If he can have that sort of year again, hopefully no concussions or broken wrists. I think he or something with his hand last year. Hopefully he's injury free and he can have an absolute massive bounce back year. So I back him for that. I'll read the leadership group out from the year before, and let's have a chat about who we think could potentially be in the leadership group in 2025. So what it was last year was Simpkin and McDonald, you know, co-captains. And then we had Larky in a vice-captain role, Sheasel, Bailey Scott, which is an interesting one to talk about, and Aiden Core in our leadership group. So Core, Larky, McDonald, Simpkin, Scott, and Sheasel last year. I was sort of questioning, Core at the start of the year, we know how I felt about him. He proved me and a lot of people wrong with his back half of the year. Pretty solid for the whole year, but back half definitely. Can he repeat that for a whole season? I will back him this season because I think he's shown enough, especially for those lockdown jobs he did on a few of the better forwards in the league. But I want a whole season of that, Aiden Core, please, because clearly you're a very, very good footballer, and if you can do that with Chom Intercepty and Griffin Logue back there, fantastic. Will he be in the leadership group again? I think Clarkson will keep him in the leadership group. I would like to see Charlie Comben take his place as the leader in the back line. My head goes to Caleb Daniel there just because of his experience, but are we going to put 3 guys in the leadership group in Parker, Darling, Daniel into our leadership group year 1 coming into the club? Potentially not the best look as a club, I think. Just thinking how the media Of course, they'll twist it and make it negative on North like they always do. But, do we want to say our leadership was so bad? This is almost a public statement without being a public statement. Our leadership was so bad. We've had 3 guys who've never played a game for North Melbourne in our leadership group already. Not sure. One of those guys will definitely be in there, and I think it's obvious who. But I would love to see Charlie Comben. If they put Daniel as a defensive, like a backline leader, I've got absolutely no problem with that, but would love to see Charlie Comben in that leadership group. I love the way he spoke after the Brisbane game in Gather Round last year. He loves the place. We've been lucky enough to chat to Chom here and there, sort of off the camera and that sort of stuff, and he's an absolute ripping bloke. He does so much good stuff for our podcast here, and also, I just think he wants to be there. He stepped up so much last year, and I would like him to be in there, if not Caleb Daniel. I don't know if you can have 2 in the back line, though. I don't know. I sort of like to have that captain and vice captain trio and have then one from each line of the team. So that's how I'm going to sort of try and stagger it here. Bailey Scott was a very interesting one. I wish we got a little bit of explanation as to why Bailey Scott was put into the leadership group. I never saw anything maybe on the field from him that would suggest he's a leader. Now, I'm not doubting his inclusion in that, because I guess the thing to doubt is that the players did vote last year who's going to be in that leadership group. So Todd Viney did a speech in the video. If you haven't watched it, go and watch it on North Socials. He did a speech and said, we've gone for a wider club view on the captaincy and the leadership group this year, which is great to hear, because I think everyone should have a hand in it. Coaches especially, players. Is it a little bit of a vote your mates in? I don't think so, because I think we agree that Simkin, Larky and Shees were the obvious 3. But, I think more emphasis on the staff around the club, and I hope that's what he means by that. So Bailey Scott, I don't think he'll be in the leadership group again. And if he is, I would like a little bit of an explanation as to why. Not questioning his leadership, I guess. Well, I guess we are, but, I haven't seen him be super vocal on the field. He didn't have the best season last year. And I think I can think of a lot better leaders. Someone like a Luke Parker, who's going to play that mid-half forward role, he has to be in our leadership group. If Luke Parker's not in our leadership group, I'd be very, very concerned. He needs to be making calls in the match committee. He needs to be looking at things tactically with his experience in such a good outfit in the Sydney Swans. If Parker's not in the leadership group, I'll be a little bit shocked, and concerned is a tough phrase to use, but a little bit concerned as to why we'd get a guy who's a proven leader and stepping up in big moments and not putting him in the leadership group. That last spot in the leadership group then, it's got to be Luke McDonald still. And I know I said backline, I don't want too many in there, but I think they hinted in the video that Luke McDonald is still going to be in the leadership group. They hinted at the end of his video that he did, talking about why he stepped down. I think the broadcaster or the guy who was interviewing him sort of said, you're still going to have a leadership role next year. So that would make me assume he's going to be in the leadership group. Let's say, and I think he should be still as well. He's clearly voted in there for a reason. He's a North guy through and through, and I think you need a guy like that in the leadership group regardless. So I would personally pick Luke McDonald there. They're sort of the leaders I can sort of think of. So my leadership group personally would be Simkin captain, and then Shees and Larky as the vices. Then let's go Charlie Comben, Luke Parker, Luke McDonald. That would be my preferred leadership group. That means Scott and Core come out. I think Core will be in there. I wouldn't have a massive problem if Core was in there as well. It makes a lot more sense with his experience, but I like Charlie Comben as a future leader at the club. If Luke McDonald was not in there, who else would be a candidate for going in there? So I'm just going to scroll through the team here and just let you know a few guys who I think potentially have some leadership quality. So Caleb Daniel is the obvious one. I talked about him a little bit before, but I think he could potentially do it just with his experience. 28 years old, he's going to be at the club for 4 years. I think that he would be a good leader. He's won a premiership. He knows what he's doing. Makes sense, right? There's not much more to say about that. Scrolling through here, we're not we're not really looking at much, are we? Jack Darling is probably the next one that I would say, can be in the leadership group. I would not be shocked if he was in the leadership group with his experience at West Coast. I don't know if he's in the leadership group at West Coast or not. I have to look that up. But, he's won premierships. He's played at the highest level in massive games, massive moments. Been there consistently for a good side until the last few years of West Coast. But, his prime of his career was definitely a very good spell for West Coast. So absolutely could see him stepping up into leadership group. Another guy that, maybe hasn't shown it yet, but it's more about his love for the club, and I feel like his improvement last year is a Jackson Archer. Obviously, Archer is a crazy big name at North Melbourne. So I feel like eventually maybe could be in the leadership group one day, but at this point, maybe not. The only other ones that I'm looking at here, maybe a Tristan Sherry. Has he done much as a leader? Maybe not, but I think he leads by example. And if he was maybe in the leadership group, I wouldn't be too unhappy with that. No, I wouldn't put him as a captain or vice captain candidate in the future, but who knows? I never thought he'd play another AFL game again, and he became the best ruckman ever to exist on a football field. So, yeah, I could see Sherry maybe being in the leadership group one day. I guess the guys to leave out of that, Zerha, it's a little bit concerning. He just doesn't seem like the type of guy who wants to be a leader, and that's completely fine. Along with LDU is the other one we'll talk about quickly, but we all sort of feel like this. Zerha, LDU don't feel like the type of guys who are going to be your leaders, but they should lead on the field, but off the field maybe aren't the guys to go to. Zerha and LDU lead by being better than their opponent, and if Zerha can get back to some form like he showed 2-3 years ago, we've got a very good player who can lead by example and set the tone in games. LDU, we know what he can do. Him bursting out of the middle and just doing it by hand and by foot, being better than every other midfielder around him is leadership in his own way. So he can be a leader on game day while the in between sirens. But other than that, maybe, isn't going to be the guy who's going to be a leader at the club. So, and that's completely fine. Some guys just don't have that in them. I know at jobs I've had in the past, I don't see myself being a leader, but still want to be a big contributor to the team as a whole. And there's nothing wrong. You don't have to all want to be a leader. Maybe Wardlaw one day as well, looking at Wardlaw here. Can he, I think he has to focus on his footy first, that sort of stuff, but can he grow into that? We don't know. Anyway, look, that will round it up from here from me. Thank you for listening, everybody. Remember, live show tickets are out on Monday. What am I talking about? 9 a.m. on Thursday morning, which is the 23rd of January. Please jump on, grab a ticket, grab one for your mate. Eddie Ford's going to be down. That's going to be a great time. Close to a flag, Marnie. Games, giveaways, prizes, trivia, big season preview. It's going to be fantastic. And yes, if you have not listened to the Best 23 episode, go and do it now. It's on YouTube, it's on Spotify, and it's on Apple. That's all I've got to promote. Stay glued to the socials for the link to the tickets for the live show. I'm so excited. Thank you guys for the support you show on the pod and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys very soon. So chat then.